thinking of him at home, just like happy and calm and just brushing my floof. That sounded dirty, but I fell in love with him more in that moment.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Stand up, girl.
Not break the microphone.
Hey, what's up? I'm MJ.
And I'm Bree.
And we're just a couple of Vegas girls.
Living the not so Vegas life.
Yeah, but we're not regular Vegas girls.
We're cool Vegas girls. Kinda.
And this is the Keeping It Casual podcast,
where we talk about everything and nothing all at once. Let's do it.
I like when you saying it out.
Oh, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I love that stupid movie.
Uno,
dos, tres,
cuatro.
You don't.
I speak French.
Un, deux, trois.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
See.
So Canadian of you.
For like vintage style.
That was my grandmother.
Yeah, I love that. I love the grandma. Like that's what I want.
Aw,
yeah.
thank you for noticing.
Mm-hmm. That's
Hint to
my
boyfriend.
TJ. I have my great aunts,
think it
and I've
sounds
taken it out of my box and shown it to him and been like, I'm a size 4 whenever you're ready.
I lost mine, and I pulled this out just about a month ago. I was like, I'm gonna throw it on. It's a little.
Yeah. Well, I have my
old school,
grandmothers and my great aunts.
Oh.
And they're the same style because they got married in the same year or something like that, or around there. So it's the same style, but one of the diamonds is smaller, one of them is bigger, and then
I was gonna say the bigger diamond,
and then that one is
yeah,
the step up from the other two.
Yeah, this was like a little. I think it's got a nice little cushion that's distracting. But thank you for noticing. All.
I saw that you were wearing a ring, and then I was like, I wonder if that's the one that she was telling me about. But I was like, but then it's not rose gold. Then I was like, I'm not even gonna ask.
Yeah. Do you think that's letting my boyfriend be really lazy if I just pull out my own, ring
because it
and
means
say, hey, I love this
so much to you.
Just get it sized and you're ready.
Yeah, it means a lot to you. Not only that, but like at the same time, I mean, not that I'm an expert on love by any means. I mean, I would love to wear my grandma's still alive, but if I am given her wedding set, that's what I would want.
I think it's a lot of money. It's a lot of pressure on guys. It's like, oh, it's got to be 3 months of your salary. Like my man went it a little above and beyond because when I lost it, I found out how much it was worth. I was like, what? You spent? We could have been on vacation. We could have done a lot of things that I was like, I'd rather
you could
not.
put more money into the honeymoon or something.
But that's how we feel about the wedding.
Yeah.
It's like, let's go to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back and we'll be married and then we can have a little party. But
exactly.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's I think more our style anyways.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of beautiful weddings and that's great, but I don't really feel like I need the dress and
I don't want $10,000 on plates and silverwares and stuff. It's like, no.
Yeah.
We did a backyard party and barbecue and got married at the Elvis Chapel.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then
party
I would
at my
be
friend's
happy
house.
to get married at an Elvis Chapel.
Joey, she and her husband, when they got married, they said, we're throwing an engagement party, everybody come. And then they were like, surprise, we're getting married. And
that's awesome.
I loved that because I was like, well, what about gifts and stuff? She was like, we didn't need any of that. We didn't want you guys to waste your money. We just want to have a fun party with our friends and share our love. It seemed to me like that's a better idea for a wedding. I don't know. It doesn't have to, if I get married, I don't want it to be showy and whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I have enough attention, I feel. And and I'm happy with that. And there's lots of times where I celebrate my friends and they can celebrate me and I just don't really need it. But can a Canadian get married in Vegas? Anybody can?
Yeah,
absolutely.
You don't have to be American to get married.
No, you can have Elvis do it. You can have anybody.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Canadian and I guess
a lot, but everybody comes out here to get married.
Yeah,
from all over the world.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think so.
I'll have to ask Elvis. So we've never done like a collaborative one. So we want to honor and respect the way you want to do your show and start your show. And so whatever. What do you?
Oh, I'm on your turf. I'm in your city. All right, and you brought the gear.
Right. Keeping it casual style.
All right.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hello. That doesn't mean you're listening in the afternoon. Hi. Guess what? We have an amazing person sitting in the room with us right now.
Today is a big collaboration.
Today is a big collaboration.
Okay? We have another podcaster from Canada. We have listeners in Canada. We love Canada.
We do. So welcome Miss Chanty from Muses, the podcast. Yay!
Yes.
Thank you so much.
But also, this is for your listeners
So
too.
it
So you can.
Behind that, I'm going to say I'm sitting here with Bree and MJ, and they're from the Keeping It Casual podcast.
Yes! We're live in Vegas. We're at the Plaza Hotel. It's as fancy as it sounds.
We are
too.
here for Miss Pamela Des Barres Doll Con.
Yeah, I am feeling fancy, though. I mean...
Yes, you just came from the Bellagio.
I just came from the Bellagio.
Yes. It's a fancy feeling to even
is.
go on the strip. We're downtown now where everybody can wear what they want and walk around with big giant drinks.
Yardstick drinks.
Yes.
I saw so many butts before noon today. It was great.
Oh, out on the strip?
Yeah,
pool.
yeah. I saw like two really beautiful butts and just these two ladies, and they have the what are they
feathers,
wearing?
the
feathers.
Oh,
and
showgirls.
then I saw showgirls, and then I saw an old man in a string thing.
Was
Her
he
face
like
just
the
dropped.
Borat type?
Yeah, he must have been 80.
Okay, well, I mean,
Viva Las Vegas.
there's a dog for every Beth out there.
I was in Vegas for 5 minutes yesterday, and I saw somebody get arrested.
Awesome.
Oh, I mean, that's just
You're downtown.
I don't even notice when I see Metro anymore. I'm like, oh hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, it's the downtown scene is a little it's a little creepy in parts. It's like any downtown area,
Yeah.
I guess. I've never been to Canada, but
Any downtown area in the States, yes.
No,
like it's like
I can't think of anywhere in any of our cities where that.
we've only imagined like how fabulous it is in Canada. Like
Yeah.
everybody just seems to get along. It's a very stereotypical, but every time I've met people from Canada, they're just so
Like
cool
Jeff and Shayna.
laid back. Jeff and Shayna,
Yeah.
Fanya, our pole fitness
Yeah.
host for our live show. I mean,
yeah.
anybody cool that's like, yeah, I'm from Canada.
And they
It's
just
like,
love
so cool.
you guys seem to just love everybody. Like you
Yeah.
got so much love to give, and I'm like back here like a cat, like I'll like you maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see if you earn it. So okay, let's kick this off. How did you and Lynx meet?
Lynx and I met at, and this is going back to Miss P, when you said, okay, let's talk about who Miss P is. We met at a writing workshop, at one of Pamela Des Barres' writing workshops.
That's where Bree met you guys, right?
Well, we're a part of, we met online.
We met
But
online.
it's because it's a community.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's the doll community. We actually just met when I picked her up in
Yeah,
person.
this is-
Wow.
So although we feel like we know each other, because one, we
Yes.
listen to each other's podcasts, and
Uh-huh.
you see each other's faces online and
Yeah.
things like that. I met Lynx at a writing workshop, and Lynx was the person who brought Pamela to Toronto. So
Really?
Pamela does writing workshops all over the United States and in some places in England. And Lynx messaged Pamela and said, would you ever consider coming to Toronto? And Pamela said, if you get enough girls, then I'll come. So at the first writing workshop in Toronto, there were 20 girls. I wasn't at that one. I wasn't at the second one. I wasn't even at the third one because I wasn't even living in Toronto at that time. I was just discovering Miss P's books or like early university, thinking I was the only one who was a huge fan of her and what she did and what she's doing now. And I didn't even know that she was still active and doing workshops and still going to shows and writing articles. And so when I was in university, I found that she was doing an online workshop. It was her first and only Skype writing convention.
Oh, wow.
And then I moved to Toronto. I attended a first like in-person doll class. And then ever since there, I hold the writing workshops at my house.
That's
so it's kind of
amazing.
started from just being a fan to
okay.
one day hoping to be a part of the group. And now the writing workshops happen at my house in Toronto. And Lynx was the first person to bring the writing workshops to Toronto. And then her and I met at one of the writing workshops. And it was just,
It's amazing how you
Meant
just
to be.
when you go into those writing workshops, you bare your soul to these women, and they just immediately become your soul sisters. It's just such a positive group. You laugh together, you cry together, you write some of the most intimate things that you don't even talk about to other people, and then it comes out. And these people that, like, especially your first class, I'll never forget my first class. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote about that. I don't even tell people about that. And then all these women now know this about me, and oh goodness, but it's like it's a judgment-free zone. It's so beautiful.
Well, I've never even heard of Pamela until Bree started telling me about her, and then I heard her on your podcast, which is very cool. So for anybody else that is not aware of her, You guys fill in who is Pamela. This is a muse. It's basically the muse for some podcasts for you guys.
I asked her permission before I started the podcast. I asked if I had her blessing because I did use her book. So she's an author.
Yes.
She has 5 or 6 books now. And one of the books is Let's Spend the Night Together. And she has a whole bunch of different women tell their stories of spending time with, inspiring, having relationships with the famous musicians that we know and love. But her most famous book is I'm with the Band, Confessions of a Groupie.
Yep, she is the world's most famous groupie.
It's true.
And groupie is not a bad thing, guys.
Yeah. And so you're in town, you're in Vegas right now for the writing workshop, right?
The International Doll Convention. So I've never been to a con. When you think about cons, you're like Star Trek and I don't know.
This is for all of her writers to get together, and just it's so insane because like she'd been talking about it forever, and we were thinking it was going to be in Austin, and then all of a sudden it just got posted one day, and it was like for Pamela's first ever doll con in Vegas, and I was like, man, I don't even have to travel for this. Yay!
Oh, that's so cool.
And so she's getting all her dolls from around. That's what she calls her writers. Is her dolls. She's getting all her dolls from around the world, and we're gonna get together and write.
There's so many great things we're going to be doing besides writing. We're going to be going vintage shopping. And if we want to today, we can go see her spiritual guide named Light.
Yes. Oh, well, what a better name for a spiritual guide.
Yes.
I am Light. It's like, well, perfect.
Yes. And Pamela writes about light in her second book, Take Another Little Piece of My Heart, which that
A Groupie Grows Up.
A Groupie Grows Up. That book I have read after every breakup, even my most recent breakup. Like I read it just to be like, I know there's light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? And then you look at it. What is so fabulous about Pamela too is she's still such good friends with her ex-husband.
Michael?
With Michael.
He's awesome.
I loved that episode that you did about Pamela and Michael. Like that episode had me in tears. I was like,
is it a Michael we know?
Michael Des Barres, he sang for Power Station. He sang for, he's been in so many bands.
It was like Silver.
Ooh. Yeah. He was on.
Or something like that. Sorry if I got that wrong.
He was on, was it Nip Tuck?
He's been on a bunch of television shows.
Okay.
And now he has a channel on Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Yes.
And so he has his own Sirius
XM
radio show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's great.
Cool.
He's really positive, and he's got such a fantastic voice. He's from England, and he never lost that accent. And
no, he hasn't.
Yeah, he's smart. He loves music. He's great. And they've remained friends, and they've been that really nice example of maintaining a really positive relationship with somebody after you are no longer with them romantically.
Oh, yes. That's a whole episode. That's a whole episode we will dive into one time.
I have exes that I'm still very good friends with, but then I have some that don't deserve my friendship after the relationship ended.
Yeah.
Can I ask how your podcast came to be?
Of course.
Yeah.
Honestly, MJ and I we were trying to do different projects.
Yeah.
Honestly, we were trying to do different projects and they weren't panning out very well. And then she walked into work one day and she goes, "Can I steal you?" Yeah. And I was like, "Steal me for what?"
my idea was like kind of a one-on-one thing. So I would, but the problem was I wanted to do a podcast where I'd interview people. So it was me, but it was also based on like having to have somebody else commit to doing a podcast with me weekly, different people. And I realized there's never the right timing. There's never the right, just having people that don't do podcasting, like if you want to be a one-on-one podcaster and have guests, it's very hard to like have
you
constant
have to tell them how to hold the mic.
Yeah.
No, closer to your mouth.
Or just like, hey, can you meet me this time? Or it was just not going to work out. So Bree was very passionate about starting one. I was excited for her. And I said, hey, do you want to come on mine? And I want you to be my online dating expert. We're going to talk about online dating. So we did a whole episode. Maybe we release it one day. Like
oh my God, we should totally release
like a Patreon or something. That would be funny. So we did this episode. And afterwards I said, God, that was great. This was you're so fun and easy to talk to. And I said, we should fucking do a podcast. Like, why don't we do one together? Why don't
you're not my guest. You're my co-host.
Yeah, it was just like, this is too easy.
Yeah, like, it worked out so well. And I just kind of like how you were talking about how you and Lynx, like you do a lot of the technical side, but she does a lot of the web stuff. That's just very how we are. We're very yin and yang with the way we can work. Like she makes the coffee.
Yeah, we say like, if you don't mind doing this that much, then you'll do it. You know, like so it's a nice balance. So
it's interesting. Lynx was a guest as well because I had started it alone.
Okay.
And it was just friends that would come on, musicians or anything, and I would tell them the story about a groupie or a muse.
Yeah.
And then I really liked this because I wanted to do Marianne Faithfull. And I didn't know anything about Marianne Faithfull really, except that she just had a relationship with Mick Jagger. And then she was beautiful. And so I got her book out of the library and I didn't read it and I needed to renew it. And then I didn't read it and I needed to renew it 3 times until I couldn't renew it anymore. And I hadn't read it. So I sent a message to the Toronto Dolls and I said, hey, does anybody know much about Marianne Faithfull? And then they can tell me the story. And nobody had come on and told me a story yet. Oh. And everybody said, Lynx, she's your girl. And the writing workshop in Toronto was next week.
Perfect.
And then so she came, so we met and then we scheduled the chat and she was so good and everybody loved her that she would come on every second episode. And then I was like, you are the co-host I always wanted. I didn't ever want it to be a solo podcast.
Yeah.
I always wanted a co-host. And so she was just the natural co-host. So we've really grown a lot. But was your main idea the relationships and dating and...
Sort of.
Mine was I wanted to kind of
sharing secrets.
Yeah, I wanted to open up communication with people. I wanted to get their perspective on everything because you don't have to be a relationship expert to have an opinion on what the drama your girl's going through, you know? So I thought it'd be fun to have people come on and talk about different thing. And, you know, I think everybody's a superstar in their own light. So just like having a friend of mine, she's got 7 kids and she's gorgeous and fabulous as a fun marriage. She's cool. And I'm like, I want to know like how she keeps it together or this person, you know? So I think no matter what you're doing, you have a story. And that was my idea. So, and we're kind of getting into that with our guests more too. So
yeah, because we're
Bree's was a little different too.
Mine was a little different. I don't really want to divulge into that just because that might still happen.
Yeah.
I had a co-host and it was just timing. We couldn't get together and it just wasn't working out. And I was just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And then when we got together, it was just magic because it was like, she was like, hey, find a good server for us to put our podcasts on. And I was like, okay, you can find us a photographer. And then it was just kind of like, I don't know. It's so hard to find that one person that you could really put your trust into to start a business with.
Exactly. It is like it's starting a business with somebody.
And it is.
I'm in a manifestation Facebook group and a girl posted, I have a friend and she wanted to start a podcast. We've pre-recorded 4 episodes and now I realize my heart's not in it. Should I keep doing it? I can't commit to her. And I was like, this could be the best thing that's ever happened to her if you just let her do it and you let her find somebody who is 100% dedicated to it. Yeah. If you're not, don't do it. Yeah. You cannot go into a podcast half season to it and hope that it grows on you because it's so much work. Yeah. And especially if you're independent, you're not already Joe Rogan going into like a huge network and you can talk about anything and nothing and people will still listen. If you're independent, you really need to build yourself. You need to build your brand. You need to grow your audience organically. And if you are not fully committed to that, then you can be like, you'll stop after 12 episodes. Exactly. You'll get to about 12 and then that's it.
Yeah, I don't even think people realize like how much money you have to put up at front first for these type of things too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I like what you say. That is good advice to people who are thinking of starting one. Like record a couple, have a few in the bank. That way when you're ready to launch, you feel confident like, okay, I can keep this consistent because that's what it is. You want to be consistent. When we came out, we're like, all right, our goal was some people want to do it monthly, bi-weekly, every 3 months, whatever your goal is, you know, just make sure that you can keep up with that to keep it consistent. People will expect that from you. So we came out of the gate like 5 of them deep.
Yeah, we were like, we want weekly episodes. We want to look this. We want everything to be.
So we did a lot because we were like, okay, we want to be ready and we want to make sure that we...
I honestly
that's good.
think the radio background comes into that.
Oh, and you know what? I don't have a radio background. Yeah. I don't have a media background. And for me, done was better than perfect. Yeah. Right? If you go back, and we might even be taking those down soon, like the first 10 episodes.
Oh, really?
Where I talked... Well, see, that's the thing is
that... could be gold, though.
Yeah. But the thing is I talk about Pattie Boyd without Lynx. I talk about Teresa Tana without Lynx. And... I would love to revisit those, and those episodes, they don't even have an intro. They don't have a theme song. They don't have production value. But I'm still proud of them, and I'm still happy that they're there. And for me, if I would have waited for the theme song and the this and the that, I might have never done it. Right? And that's 3 years ago. And podcasting 3 years ago, is not what it is today.
Oh no,
I didn't really have that many people to talk to. It was a Google, it was a WikiHow, it was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we've built it from there. So it's wild to think of that episode 1 to episode 110. How much has changed, and it's still changing, and it's still growing.
It's inspiring.
So it is. I mean, you guys are almost 3 years into it. You've recorded at Sun Studios. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
I found you guys. Honestly, I think Lynx was already your co-host by the time I found you, but I found you still fairly early on because I've been listening to you for a few years now.
Yeah, same with you. When it came out, I was episode 1.
Oh, thank you.
And so you've heard my entire relationship.
Well, that's okay. You know, it's just been a fun journey. But
it has been. You know what's funny is the way our podcast started is, she had a party and that was our first episode, and our first episode was like right after one of my very first dates with my ex-boyfriend, and it just kind of like you just see this whole arch of like our entire lives coming through, and now we're not even a year into it, and it's kind of insane. It's fun to watch it grow, and it's also fun to like go back and listen to the episodes like, here's where I was less than a year ago. You know what I mean?
It's like your online diary, but with Lynx and I, we might say a little something about each other or what's going on with us at the beginning, but we usually just dive right into the person that we're talking about in the stories. So it's not so much about us in that sense, which is cool. Although we infuse here and there, that reminded me of a time that but we are launching a Patreon mid-May. I don't know when this is coming out, but it's going to be mid-May. And that's going to be the opportunity for us to really chat about past relationships. Like, I don't talk about a lot of musicians that I've dated.
Well, let's start talking about it.
Lynx has some amazing stories that you wouldn't even believe. Like, we'll hit stop on recording and she'll be like, by the way, I met the person that we just talked about in the podcast. And I'm like, yeah, you did. But she doesn't open up really and like talk about, and that's not my story to share. So I've never shared any one of Lynx's stories. It's not mine, it's hers. And when she's ready, I think she's gonna blow people away with like the experiences that she had and the things that she's done. But the cool thing is too, I find about her, is that she never used that as leverage, which she could have. We have a podcast about groupies and muses who have really fascinating relationships with musicians, and she never used that as leverage, even though we've had people sort of try to get that out of us and ask us. But with the Patreon, we're going to be opening up a little bit more about our personal lives, asking each other questions that maybe we don't even know about each other, even though we've known each other for over 3 years. And that'll be an opportunity for listeners who really like us and who are invested in us at this point in our personalities to get to know us on that more intimate level.
I love it.
We need to take Keeping It Casual to Canada.
We
so
do.
We can have a nice little live and interactive relationship with the muses.
Yes.
Your show requires research and a lot of passion and stuff, and it's very niche. You were just talking to somebody and they're like, so it's called Muses, and you told them, it's like
it's about the girls behind the songs.
And they were like, wow, that's a really interesting concept. That sounds like a very creative podcast.
Taking the women who are backstage to the front of the stage, to shining the light on them, to give them the credit that they deserve for inspiring the life, the fashion, the style choices, the musical influences of the rock star. So
I love it. I think it's just a really cool idea, and I haven't heard anything like that before. So I was all about it. So it's so exciting to connect with you, and just,
thank you.
Especially after learning more about Pamela through both of you now.
Do you have, besides Pamela, we can't use her, that's too easy, do you have a favorite muse?
Oh, good question. I got really, really interested in all of Elvis's women. And then from there, I got really interested in Elvis. So for me, I was never a huge Elvis fan growing up. We have our family, we were really like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers family. And I can even go off on that. But when we started learning about Priscilla and then Linda and then Ginger and then actually going to Graceland, I just feel like Elvis got infused into my life. And I just loved that whole world. But in terms of having like a favorite muse besides Pamela, like I love you know what? I love Alice Carbone Tench.
Oh.
So she's married to Ben Montench of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and the stuff that she puts out on a consistent basis in terms of her writing and her blog are so important and so special, and I love what she has to say. She's originally from, it's Carbone, so I believe it's Italian. And she went to Los Angeles. She had her own podcast. She was interviewing Jackson Browne. Like, she's so fascinating in her own right. And so people might not exactly know about her, but I think that she's super fascinating.
Yes, I love that.
But we interview somebody, and then we're always like, that was the best one yet. She's the, like, we say that
she's
every
my
time.
favorite.
They're all amazing. And
I love Pattie Boyd's story because George Harrison and Eric Clapton. Come on.
So we interviewed Jenny Boyd, who is Pattie Boyd's sister.
Yes.
So Jenny was married to Mick Fleetwood, a Fleetwood Mac, for 30 years, has 2 children with him. She was in India with the Beatles. Like, Jenny's one of my favorite muses. I can't even choose because they're all so fantastic.
You guys got to interview Roxana Shirazi.
Yes,
recently. I loved her book. It was very, like, that was one that really, like, made me blush because most of the books I read, I'm like, oh, that's fun. Like Catherine James' book, like Pamela's book.
Slow down. Who is that, though? I'm over here learning.
Oh, okay. So remember,
I'm in school right now.
You had texted me one day and you were like, I saw a book called The Last Living Slut. And I was like, oh, yeah, I read that a few years
ago. That's Roxana Shirazi.
Okay, gotcha. Yes.
She's got another book coming out in the fall that I'm really looking forward to. She's so smart.
She is. She's a brilliant woman, born in Iran during the revolution. And then her family moved her to England. And then as she grew up there, she found Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, and the rest is history.
Okay.
Dated Dizzy. It was Dizzy.
Dizzy, I don't know.
Dizzy from Guns N' Roses.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, we're going to have some trivia here soon. With, I was very intimidated by all the classic rock culture and stuff because I love classic rock, but I've never delved into the side of the Muses. So it's so intriguing, but I know some stuff more of like the new modern, like alternative stuff, which is not modern anymore.
No.
People used to call the radio station, say, can I request some classic alternative? I'm like, what do you mean classic alternative?
Some Smashing Pumpkins, please.
But Lynx is really good for that. So Lynx is really into, like, I'm classic rock and Lynx is punk and like New York, and she's so she knows everything about everything that has to do with with that wave of music. So she has done awesome episodes on women and bands that I didn't really care that much about, but when she tells me about them, I'm like, that was fascinating, that was cool. So even like Chris Cornell and who's the guy from who sings Sour Girl?
Scott Weiland.
Yep. Yeah. So she did an episode on...
You guys did the Mary Forsberg Weiland episode. Oh.
Yeah. Lynx presented that, and it was great.
That book, Mary Forsberg Weiland's book, is one of my all-time favorite books. That book helped, like, when I read her book, it was kind of like I was reading certain things that I had gone through in my life, and that's the book that actually made me go, I need to get into therapy.
Really?
Yes. That's why, like... these stories are so important.
Yes.
Plus, people who are so into music history and rock and roll history who think that they know everything that there is to know. Well, there's another side and there's another perspective, and I think we're sort of over that generation or that time where we look upon women as like, well, they're gold diggers and they just want their 15 minutes or they just want, and it's like, for whatever reason and for whatever, if they want to write a book, it's their experience. Okay, like, so stop with this, well, they just want to be famous. And even if they do, who gives a shit? Because that's, musicians want to be well known. And like, what's with this judgmental attitude about, well, they just want to do this to him, and like, where is this coming from, and who are the people that are saying this?
Jealousy.
So what it is that, okay, so we're bringing another side, and we're sort of taking the story that you might already know too and adding to it. Also, this happened, and we love it. And not only do these women have these stories of their past, but we celebrate what they're doing now. So a lot of them have PhDs, and a lot of them are therapists. Some of them, like, we interviewed somebody who, her name's Kristen Casey, and she dated Joe Walsh, and she's a sex surrogate. Sorry.
Whoa.
I don't know if I said that right. A surrogate partner. So,
okay, wait, let me just guess. What's a sex surrogate? Like,
so sorry. So a surrogate partner. So she helps people who like are in need of maybe some like social help when it comes to sexuality and maybe physical, who like physically need some help, or just to how do you touch a woman, how do you have a relationship with somebody, and she guides them through that.
That's amazing,
right? Like there are just so many women with so many fascinating jobs, and that's awesome. We just want to talk about them, but
that just shows you that if you have a gift or you have something that you want to do, there's somebody out there that's going to find value in it. If you find passion in it, there's somebody that's going to relate to it.
Oh, I mean,
that's incredible.
Do you want to ask the go back in time rock star question?
The answer is Tom Petty. I'm just kidding. I'll let you ask.
If you can go back in time and lose your virginity to any rock star, who would it be?
Tom Petty.
Tom Petty, really?
Yeah, he's my man. He's my guy. He's just.
I have the same birthday as Tom Petty.
Oh, that's so special.
Tom Petty, Bela Lugosi, and Snoop Dogg, and me.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know.
Jealous.
No, yeah.
So I can tell you he's good peeps, because people born on October 20th are good peeps.
My boyfriend's born on October 2nd. So
October babies are very
I do
good.
like an October baby. Yeah. Is that Libra?
Yes, we are
yeah,
Libras.
I like a Libra.
Are you?
I'm an Aquarius.
Okay, that's why Aquarius and Libras are soulmates of the zodiac.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
That's why I like you so
that's
much.
wicked.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, Bree, what about?
Yeah, what about you? Who's your
David Bowie?
Bowie.
I would.
Well, Lori Lightning did lose her virginity to David Bowie.
I know, and people try to give her shit for it, and she's just like, "Fuck you! I lost my virginity to David Bowie." Who did you
and it was a
lose
great
virginity
experience. So how about you fuck off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, David Bowie or Jim Morrison at any stage.
No, you can't take mine.
You can have Jim. And you have a fun Jim story.
Oh, I do. I used to live with his bodyguard. He was I have a picture I'm going to show you right now, okay? So my roommate was he was like in his late 60s, and he was a very tall handsome black man, and he had a big afro, and I just loved him to pieces. He woke me up every morning blasting music from his room, and it was usually Werewolves of Thunder. But he passed away a couple years ago, but he used to tell me, like, yeah, I was on tour with the Rolling Stones and, you know, all this stuff. And it's so funny because I popped up a picture, like one of those memories on Facebook or something, just a couple days ago, and I'm like, I forgot all about this picture, but this is him. But his name was Tony Funches. He's super cool.
Do you want me to pull it up?
And I think I got it right. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm stalling.
Can I also say that Elvis? I mean,
Elvis, of
like
course.
Sometimes I just look at pictures of Elvis and I get tingly.
I think that's like...
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, so there he is sitting beside Jim Morrison.
There's Tony hanging out. Yeah, he's in his book and everything, so he signed it and gave me the picture. And
that's so awesome.
Yeah, so anyways, that's my little
it's
Morrison,
you know, like thing. Rock and roll is a pretty small world.
Yeah.
And like once you're kind of in it and you're a part of it as well, and you realize that like I'm not just an outsider anymore, just like watching and listening, and you know, I'm a part of this, and it's so mind-blowing.
The proximity to that greatness.
And the proximity just to know somebody who has spent that significant amount of time with that person it's fun.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are from Vegas, like you're pretty close to LA. Do you see a lot of celebrities? Because we don't have that in Toronto. We honestly don't.
I mean, working in radio, yes.
Yeah. I still love the day, and this is one day that I missed out on because I wasn't there, but who was sitting in the break room?
I walked into the break room to like put my salad in the refrigerator, and Salt and Pepper was just sitting in the break room, and Spinderella, and I was just like, oh my God, how do I not fangirl over this? And then another day she walks in and I was like, the Backstreet Boys are in the conference room right now.
I was like, I just got a picture with Nick.
Yeah, she's like, Nick and Howie got a picture with them, and I was like,
see, that's the thing. When I was 10 years old, I used to pray to God. I would say, God, I would love to meet Nick Carter, please. I really think that this could happen. And you know what's funny? And I was in university, and you could pay $50 to go to Nick Carter's birthday party in Toronto. And so essentially, like, you know, I laughed and I went, okay, I guess, you know, you delivered, 15 years later, I guess I could do that. I didn't end up going. I didn't really care at that point in my life, but it is funny to hear that, like, yeah, I mean, that happens now. And I'm, you know, talking to a group of people that go somewhere and Nick Carter's in a conference room. Like, that's because it was so far away from me when I was
10 years old.
Would you say Nick Carter was your first love? Your
Hell
first
yeah.
Mine too.
Oh, first musical love.
Oh, Nick Carter was mine.
You should. I wish I had pictures of my bedroom. My parents
plastered in Backstreet Boys.
Me
too.
They
Backstreet
were
Boys
all
and Spice
over
Girls.
my wall.
George Michael.
Ooh.
In the faith before he knew. Before he knew his truth. Just like with the guitar and the leather
and the jeans.
I mean, I had a type. Honestly, I had Nick Carter, I had Leonardo DiCaprio, and Devon Sawa, and they all had the same haircut. And honestly,
I think I had that same Teen Beat wall too.
The
Nick,
Teen
Leo,
Beat. Oh,
the
bring back the
wall.
Teen Beat.
I think
Teen
that was
Bob
that
bags.
wall. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
yeah.
The
I
Blondies.
have to say though, I saw the Backstreet Boys a few times last year because they have their residency out here.
They're playing like tonight or something.
Yes. And Nick still looks good, but Kevin? Oh my God. I was like, we did an episode, I had just seen him and I was like, I used to be a Nick girl, but I saw Kevin and I was like, I'll let you be my daddy if you want. Like, damn, he has like the man bun now and he's just like, he comes out on stage and he does yoga bows. He's all namaste. And I was like, and he just looks good. I was like, ooh, your 40s are working for you, Kevin. Mm-hmm. Damn, that's so fun.
An interesting question too, because we've met some celebrities or some musicians and stuff, and sometimes they don't live up to your hype, and you're a little you're like, they didn't impress you, or they just kind of like rubbed you the wrong way, or you were like, wow, they were rude, or just I don't know, it just kind of killed your vibe with them. Did you ever meet anybody like that?
I remember when I was in university and I came to Toronto for a show, and I didn't do that often, so I was in a bit of a smaller town outside of Toronto, so you'd have to like drive the hour and a half in or take the 2-hour bus, and so that was kind of a and I'm a really small town, so even Toronto at that time for me seemed really big and really intimidating, but I made the trek and I went and I saw this band, like they're from the UK, so they're called The Horrors.
Yes,
and
I know
so do you know Faris Badwan?
Yeah.
The really tall guy, really tall guy. So I waited outside after the show to meet them or to meet him. And I had a disposable camera and I asked if he would take a photo with me and he said no.
Ew.
Yeah.
I think
was it just you? Was there a bunch of people? Was
it was
chaotic?
Just me.
What a dick.
There was maybe a couple of people, 5 people, like tops. Maybe there really weren't that many people, and it was a disposable camera. And I was in university, so we didn't even really have have iPhones. Like nobody had iPhones. It was just kind of a, But even the lighting on the stage, like none of my photos turned out that night because they purposely lit the stage so people couldn't photograph them and things like that. And I was like, you're coming from the UK and you're coming to like another country and you're so like no I don't want it, and like guess what, that band's not very like I don't know.
Guess what? I don't even know who he is.
Well, I mean, they maybe if they would have, if they would have been gracious to their fans, or if they wouldn't have been so like, don't look at me. Well, okay, then nobody's looking at you anymore. I guess that's what you wanted.
I mean, I guess they've all had moments where they're proud, but it's like, honestly, things like that, when you just put somebody on a pedestal and you finally meet them and they just kind of brush you off or give you the cold shoulder, you're like,
did you have that with Maynard?
Dick. Yes.
Who's that?
Lead singer of Tool.
Tool. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it was a phone interview, but he was just so rude. But he's known for like giving everybody shit and just being kind of, but I was beyond excited and nervous. And
Tool and Pussifer and Perfect Circle, some of your top favorite bands.
Yeah, and he called me. He called me about his wine. He has his own wine, which I would have got you, but no.
No 7 Deadly Zins.
Yeah, I was like, thanks for getting up early and calling us and everything. He's like, it wasn't you, it was the grapes they called to me. Like, he's just such okay. And then every question was just like, yes, no, and just kind of made me feel really stupid. And I was just like, that was the hardest interview I've ever had to give, like with somebody who just was refusing to just interact. It's like, why are you calling? I don't know.
I've been so lucky.
Sucked.
Like I got to meet a band, and a lot of times like it doesn't really translate here. Sometimes Canada Famous, it just doesn't translate over to the US.
Marianne Trench. huge in Canada. I love them. Not that big out here, though.
Right, exactly. So I got to meet a band that my family grew up listening to, and I even brought my brother along when I met the band because he's such a huge fan as well that I just brought him along. I was like, you can take the pictures. And they totally lived up to my expectation and more.
Oh, that's good.
Love it.
And their bass player flirted with me a little bit.
Ooh.
That was nice too.
I have to say, I think I have 2 disappointments. When I met Josh Tata Buck Cherry, I was doing a meet and greet with him, and he was just such a dick. Oh my God.
I've never been to a meet and greet.
Well, I was working a meet and greet. It's a little different when you're on the working side of it. Actually, I didn't like when we had to do the meet and greet with Fall Out Boy because the lead singer grabbed my ass. Wasn't a fan of that one.
Oh.
That picture is so awkward because it's just like. And then the lead singer, they were this little pop punk band called Mest. First time I saw them, and I was a very big fan of them. I was so excited to go. I was 15 years old. I'm so excited. And then I'm hanging out by the buses afterwards because even at 15, I guess I had the groupie in me. And I was like, I'm going to meet the lead singer. I'm going to meet Tony Lovato. I have such a crush on it. It's going to happen. And he was like, are you 18? And I was like, no, I'm 16. And he was like, oh, and walked away. And I was just like, oh.
Not even a hi. How are you?
Yeah.
Just like,
You 18?
He's like, you're not even 16. Walked away.
do you guys know Josh Tillman of Father John Misty?
I know you. I mean, I've never met him. I like
that band
Father
is
John
blowing
Misty.
up. Like
A lot of people just assume that Josh Tillman is a dick because of, I guess, what he sings about and maybe interviews that he's given in the past or anything like that. But when he played a show in Toronto, after the show, a couple of my friends hung out with him and a couple members of his band, and he was one of the nicest and kindest. And people just assume he's really condescending, or that he's like, oh, but he thinks he's better than everybody. And it was like, I hung out until the bar closed with him one night, like one-on-one. Like there was 4 of us, me, my girlfriend, him, and the drummer at the time. And it was one of the best experiences. So I've been really lucky actually with the people who I really admire and who really love. And so I don't have too many bad experiences.
It's few and far
It's
between.
few and far, yeah.
And there are people that have just like come out of the gate and they just blew you away. Dreamers, some
Nick.
bands, they're just so gracious, and you're like, I wasn't even the biggest fan, but after meeting you and getting to interview, I'm just Joywave. They were a really
young blood.
Oh yeah. I mean, just
and he's sexy. If you weren't 19 years old, oh boy.
Yeah, we could do name dropping and everything all day.
Do you have have you ever like met a musician and you fangirled and you kind of embarrassed yourself over? I have a good story about this.
Okay, well you go first and I'll think about it.
Okay, I Stone Temple Pilots played out here in 2007, 2008. It was their reunion tour. Stone Temple Pilots played 2 nights at the Palms. So I went and saw them Thursday night. I got so drunk. It was such an amazing show. Scott was sober at the time. I think he and Mary were still together. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden, the next day I had to, because working in radio, they always make us go to these shows. And if there's a meet and greet, we have to be there to make sure that like all of our listeners are there and we get them in through the meet and greets and stuff like that. So I'm there, I'm working this Panic at the Disco meet and greet. I'm hungover. I'm not happy. And then I go to the Coffee Bean inside the Palms afterwards, and Dean DeLeo is standing there from Stone Temple Pilots. And I was like, that's Dean DeLeo. Fuck. And then I was like, how do I react? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So I start digging through my purse to like find my ticket from the night before, but I was so drunk, I didn't even know if I still had it. And I was like, I'm going to get his autograph. And he comes up to me and he goes, are you okay? And I was like, I can't find my car keys. And he was like, let me know if you need anything.
I'm digging for my Sharpie to ask you to sign my boobs.
I can't find my car keys. I'm okay. Yeah. It was just so embarrassing. Like, that's my opening line for him. Can't find my car keys.
Probably just the moment of like sheer like I'm trying to get his attention. Then it's like, but he busted me. Like just going. For
I was trying to
like,
not get his attention. I was like just digging through my purse frantically.
Oh,
so embarrassing.
I can't can't think of a time that I fangirled out quite like that. But like Lynx would be a good person. Unfortunately, she can't be here.
Shout out Lynx.
Shout out to Lynx.
We're going to Canada.
We're going to Canada. It's already sold out.
She's met like Ron Wood of the Rolling Stones. Although she's so like calm and cool and collected. Like we'd have to ask her if she's
normally I am. It was just I don't know if it was the hangover. I'm gonna blame the hangover. That's what it is. And it was just honestly, when I saw them, as I was watching them, I was like, this is one of the best shows, and I'm probably never going to get this opportunity to see them like this again. And I never got to see them like that again. The next time I saw Stone Temple Pilots, Chester was singing for him. R.I.P. to him too.
My God, yeah. Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it was. Do you have anybody you were fangirled over?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. When I first moved to Vegas, I was like 20. Be Real from Cypress Hill. Like Cypress Hill was in town like the weekend I moved there, and I was like, I'm getting backstage. I'm gonna roll the biggest joint you've ever seen, and I'm getting backstage. And so I did. I was really, really excited to see him, and I walked up to him, and there was like a big, massive, giant. I was like 20 years old. It was like a big 5-foot bong, and I was like, yo, what's up? and he's like, what's up? And I was like, there's just like a pile of groupies in the corner, just everybody was just like, whoa. And I was like, I like the show. It was cool. He's like, yeah. And he's like, you want to hit this? Like, looked at me like, pfft. He's like, don't hurt yourself. I was like, all right, I'm good. So that was me trying to impress myself, and I did. I was like, yeah, okay.
Oh my God.
And I walked away, and afterwards he's like, yo, you want to come back to the hotel room? And I was like, I saw there was probably like 10 girls. They were bringing them all back. I was like, nah, I'm good. So it was a little bit of like,
should have gone
fangirling, but also a little disappointment.
You made the right choice.
Also a little disappointment of like, I don't, I'm not going to get in line. If it was just me, I'd be there. But I was like,
I'm not going to get in line.
Yeah, I was like, all right. So I forgot about that one.
That's fun. Speaking of groupies and stuff, like I love that you girls are bringing these women to light, and you're trying to, just as Pamela is, like end the stigma around the word groupie. I think people just don't understand really what a groupie is.
Well, I think it's just women shaming if people
really
think
is.
it's a bad thing,
Well, like not to shame Post Malone, but in his song, he's like, feel like it's kind of derogatory. He's like, your girlfriend's just a groupie. She's just trying to get in singing I'm with the band. And I'm like, yeah, so what?
Like, yeah.
Not to shame Post Malone. I actually like him, but
it's interesting to look at it from a historical context and be like, when did it start? When did the word pop up for the first time, and then where did people start to change their tune or have this image? So that's been a really fun process, is taking it from like the 50s and even before that, in the 60s, 70s, 80s. 80s was an interesting time for that kind of thing, as in terms of like, what was happening with like musicians and like debauchery and things like that, and then bringing it into the Me Too time. Like even when we started 3 years ago, the Me Too movement hadn't started yet, so we've been having a lot of conversations based on, okay, let's talk about Lori Lightning being 13 years old when she lost her virginity to David Bowie. And so it's not shying away from these things, but I think ultimately it's just like these women, for the most part, weren't exploited. And the reason why I'm saying that is because that's what they've said, and that's who we care about's perspective, right? So there's been a lot of people looking onto them and then trying to project like their experience of they were this, they had this happen to them, poor them, or people who wish that they could have done that, or even like, men sometimes when you look at guys who like all they can, the front row Joe that, all they can do is ask for the autograph, and if they could, like maybe they would want to like sleep with the rock star, and maybe because of jealousy, then they look at the people who can do it and they go, well, they're just this or they're just that or whatever. But we were curious to talk to the women in the 60s, from who were groupies in the 60s, groupies in the 70s, groupies in the 80s, groupies in the 90s, modern groupies, and hear from them. Did you feel exploited? Did you have fun? Did you do things that you wanted to do? Would you change your mind? Would you do it over again? So we've done an episode on Lori Lightning, but I'd love to talk to her and go over this again. Now, the Me Too movement. Do you change your mind? Do you feel differently about what has happened? And
what's interesting is actually I think I read an interview with her after, because people started exploiting her after Me Too. She's like, you were 13, and she was just kind of like, yeah, but he didn't know that.
Or like, I put myself there, or like I just, that's what I wanted to.
It's what she wanted to do. Yeah.
I
look at it. as kind of, I hate to say it was a different time, but it really was different time. Like,
wasn't Priscilla Presley like 14
when she met Elvis? But they didn't actually do anything until she was of legal age.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Because I only found that out recently with the whole Jerry Lee Lewis. Didn't he pass? He just passed away. He just passed away, and
the 13-year-old cousin he married.
Yeah.
That's been a long, people have known that for a really long time, and that was never really okay.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of things sort of just got, Jimmy Page notoriously liked
young women,
young girls.
Yeah.
And Pamela talks about all of that in her books, and Morgana Welch has stuff to say about that too, and I'm curious from their perspectives. So it's always just going in saying we're not laying judgment. We're not saying this is good, this is bad, this is wrong, this is right. Let's explore it, let's have a conversation about it. But ultimately we're celebrating women who went after what and who they wanted. They didn't make apologies for it. They were sexually liberated.
Yeah.
They had a great time. They fucked Mick Jagger. They fucked Jimmy Page. They fucked
Jealous.
Elvis.
Jealous, yes.
Hello.
You got stories, girl.
We've got a woman downstairs right now that we're going to go see who fucked Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Page.
How do you become that one woman who got that rock star's attention that a billion people want his attention, and you got it? That's why you're a groupie.
You're
that's
about
why
to meet Pamela, and you'll understand how she gets everybody's attention.
Yeah.
It's just the light.
It's an energy.
It's an energy. It's her light.
And I mean, she's gorgeous.
She's in her.
She is the most physically beautiful woman, but just her heart, her insides,
Even
I can't wait to meet
Dave
her.
Navarro tried to get with her when he was young and she was much older than him.
That's hot.
I know. I was like, I would go after Dave Navarro too.
Well, listen, I know we had a lot of fun things that we wanted to get to, but there are things happening here in Vegas, and we just wanted to collaborate with you. I have a quick little trivia game that I put together with a few different songs and who inspired the song.
Oh, amazing.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, what's up? It's MJ.
And Bree.
Shout out to our sponsor, Pole Fitness Studio, dance and fitness for everyone.
And shout out to our other sponsor, Pole Expo, August 22nd through the 25th at the Rio. Pick up your tickets now at poleexpo.com. Also, be sure you are rating and reviewing us on iTunes, so you are entered into our monthly Keeping It Casual swag giveaways.
That's right, last Wednesday of every month. And make sure you follow us on Instagram, because we are having our pop-up podcast around Las Vegas. This is starting in June, so check us out at Keeping It Casual Podcast.
On Instagram?
Yeah. Okay, all right. Since I know, I'm going to throw it out there. New and older songs, all right? Let's do a little vintage one for you. Carly Simon's You're So Vain.
I thought that was never been proven who it was about.
She confirmed. It could have been one of three guys, but she confirmed one. Go.
Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty.
Interesting.
He even said, that song's about me.
Of course
Mick Jagger sings backup vocals on the song, so a lot of people thought for a really long time that it was Mick Jagger. But no, he sings backup vocals, and but it was Warren Beatty.
Of course, I do it. Okay, here we go. Courtney Love's Violet.
Billy Corgan.
Yes. Go on, take a
Nice one.
Yes.
Okay. Gwen Stefani's Holla Back Girl.
Courtney Love.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because Courtney Love, because Gwen was like, my whole album is very cheerleader and pumpy and poppy, and I need a sassy song. So she says, I'm going to take what Courtney Love threw some shade at me. She said, Courtney Love said, being famous is just like being in high school, but I'm not interested in being the cheerleader. I'm not interested in being the Gwen Stefani. She's the cheerleader, and I'm out in the smoker shed.
Courtney Love has something to say about everybody. Like her and Kathleen Hanna, I thought they were friends, but they actually hate each other, which I find strange since Kurt was good friends with Kathleen Hanna too.
Yeah. Well, I think because she was talking about how she used to fuck Gavin. So
which we don't know if that's true or not.
Okay. All right. Foo Fighters, I'll Stick Around.
I love that song, and I love the Foo Fighters. Was it for Taylor Hawkins?
It was for Courtney Love. Sorry, there was the Courtney Love trio triangle there.
I was going to say, I know he has a few songs he wrote about Courtney that weren't very flattering towards her.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Times Like These is maybe for Taylor. It was like,
And then Hero was about Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, absolutely.
R.I.P. Kurt.
Okay, this one was kind of interesting. 311's Nick Hexum song Amber. Whoa.
I don't know who that band is.
Amber is the color of my energy.
I have no idea.
Lead singer of the Pussycat Dolls, Nicole Scherzinger.
Really?
They had a thing, and that was
interesting.
Yeah, that was his.
You just blew my mind with that knowledge.
That was a weird one to me. I didn't even know they were dating.
Do you guys like Harry Styles?
Yeah, he's cute.
So I do love Harry Styles, and I really, really like his album that he put out.
Yes.
And then there's a song where he goes, she said she's gonna be an angel, just you wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's like publicly that it's out, but I'm pretty sure he's talking about Kendall Jenner because they dated and then she was a Victoria's Secret angel. So like sometimes you think about like women like that, you know, Nicole from the Pussycat Dolls.
Her last
like,
name is impossible.
And you know, like Kendall Jenner, and you're kind of like, they're muses.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian's a muse.
Oh,
like
somewhere.
They are 100%.
Yes. Yeah, have you heard that well, Kanye has that latest like, you're such a fucking hoe. I love it.
Is it about Amber Rose?
I think
no, it's about
him.
Well, he's written about Amber Rose too.
I'm
I
a
love
sick
Amber
fuck.
Rose.
I like a quick fuck.
That's the thing now. We can take like hoe, we can take slut, we can take all that stuff, and it's just like it's not a negative thing.
No,
man.
it's not a negative
Say it
thing.
in a fun way.
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the context. Depends on who's saying it.
Yeah.
Last one, because I thought this was just random and interesting. Peter Gabriel's In Your Eyes. She's an actress. They dated, and
It's not Ione Skye?
Nope. She has a family.
That's a good guess.
She's a family of actors.
Arquette.
Yes.
Patricia Arquette?
Rosanna. She also the song. Is it Toto's?
Rosanna.
They said
All I wanna do in the middle of the night is hold you tight, Rosanna.
Where's the singer? I'm like,
I
love the
Arquettes.
Arquettes.
But I
I love
not
the
know
Arquettes.
that In Your Eyes was about her. That's awesome.
yeah, I love that one. But yeah, I figured I'd throw in a fun little
That was great.
trivia. Yeah.
Oh man, I was nervous because I was like, oh, what if I fuck
Here we
this
go.
up?
Then I love Courtney Love, so she's a fucking. lunatic.
That's Lynx's expertise there.
All
So I'm
right.
glad you were there.
I'm a big Courtney Love expertise too. So I mean, obviously you date musicians. I don't know if your boyfriend currently is one.
That's funny. I always dated musicians. The first guy that I ever dated, lived with, loved, all that stuff was in my brother's band.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been a musician chaser myself. So in Mary Forsberg Weiland's book, she talks about seeing Scott Weiland perform for the first time and states, moments before Scott came out, I started to feel afraid. What if the love of my life turned out to be awful? Have you ever had that moment with any of the musicians you dated, or do you tend to like see their band first and like then be like, hey, what's up?
It's gone both ways. I've definitely approached guys after shows and said, hi, I'm gonna buy your CD. I don't have enough money. I only have this Elvis keychain. Do you want to trade? And it kind of goes from there. And then I think, when I was living in a town that was, you could throw a rock and you'd hit a musician. They were just all musicians anyways. I remember this. I was thinking about this story, and I don't think I've ever told it on our podcast or anything like that. I went on a date with a musician in Peterborough, which is the small town outside of Toronto that's full of musicians. But another musician in that town got wind that we were going out on a date, and he liked me, so he found out where we were meeting, and he brought his guitar, and he followed us and serenaded our entire date.
What? I love that.
And then we just ended up having this. We all ended up going back to my house and just had like a party on our front porch, and everybody stopped by, and it was just ended up being fun and silly.
amazing.
But like, yeah, that's what I loved.
I love that story.
And my partner and future husband now is a filmmaker, so
you definitely go after
he
the
works
artsy.
in But what's wonderful about this guy now is that he has like none of the ego of any musician I've ever met, and he's just genuinely really curious about the creation process.
Smart and creative.
Developing film, like running workshops, but he's also really handy. He can build things.
Oh, yeah,
he can
that's
change
my
a
man, too.
tire. Like
Yeah, I need that.
he's a wonderful mix of all of that. And he, I asked him to, like, break out the guitar. Like I want to tune it just to practice a little bit, and he can play the guitar. Like, so he can, you know, he kind of can do everything, but he's not out there like kind of pursuing the musician and rock star. And now that we've gone through the, you know, all of these relationships and all of these stories, and while a part of me thinks like, oh, it would be so fun to be doing the backstage thing every night and to be doing the thing, it's like, really, that's not what I want. And we've really taken everybody off their pedestals and things, and just gotten to the real story of what it is like to date a musician and a famous musician at that. And I love my situation right now.
I like that she said that she opened up, she shared a little bit about, I know your listeners don't get much of your personal life, but since you did open that up again, one of our favorite questions we like to know is the ask her that one.
Okay. But I will say this though, on that question though, I do have a story about that question. I've always been the type to like go after the band after I've seen them perform, but with my ex-boyfriend, I had never seen him do stand-up because he's a comedian. I had never seen him do stand-up, and then about a month into us dating, I went to go see him, and I was like, holy fuck, what if he's terrible? Like, it really freaked me out. Like, I remember going to MJ and I was like, I've never watched his YouTube videos. I don't know anything about him. Tell me if he's funny. Like, I really had a huge panic attack.
Was he good? Okay.
He has a swag. I try not to give him props because we're still mad at him.
We're mad at him, but he's good.
Professional.
Yeah. I went through a 6-month period where I did date a few comedians, maybe 3. And
I'm sorry.
Nope. They're
worse than musicians.
Yeah, 100%.
We can say it. It's okay. So yeah, because you have opened up a little bit. So what is something, this is something that we love to ask. What is something that your partner does non-sexually that just like turns you on, that you're like, hey baby, like washing the dishes when you didn't ask them to? Or, you know?
So today, I sent him a picture beside like of the Bellagio pool, and he was like, "That's great. I'm brushing the cat." And and the thing is that he's my cat that I brought into the relationship. He's an 11-year-old cat, and like we live together. And so just to think of him at home, and he loves to brush the cat. And so just thinking of him at home, just like happy and calm and just brushing my floof. That sounded dirty. But I fell in love with him more in that moment.
And plus he wasn't like, oh, you're at the Bellagio, well enjoy. I'm brushing her face.
So it was so happy for me, but also like, great, I just gave the floof a brush. And
I mean, like, I gotta give it up to MJ's husband too, because he's very like, you guys want to go on a road trip? Okay, cool. You know,
he's so supportive.
Yeah, he's so supportive, and he's like, I call him the sugar daddy of our podcast, because he's just like
the angel investor.
Yeah, he is. He's so supportive of MJ, and he's just supportive of us too, and it's fabulous.
It is.
Yeah. But I always think that's charming to see like what you see in people that because people, you know, sometimes people don't have the confidence to think, well, maybe I'm not sexy, or maybe I'm not cool, maybe there's a guy out there that's just like, I don't know how. It's like, just be yourself and show that you're authentic and sweet and genuine. Kindness is one of the sexiest things, or just being you know, to me, I think. But
with the guy I've been dating on and off now, like one of the sexiest things he's ever did, we have not had sex yet, but one of the sexiest things he's done to me is on one of our dates, I was talking about something and I was like, man, sometimes I just wish my brain felt normal. And he kissed me on the top of my head and he looked me in the eye and he said, never let anybody tell you that you're not normal. And I was just like, hey, that's like, that was one of the hottest things ever. And it wasn't even anything. I was just like,
you mean like emotional intelligence?
Yeah,
that's sexy.
Emotional
intelligence
when you
in a
find
man
a guy
is sexy. 100%.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we got a pool party at the Plaza.
This has been amazing.
This has been so much fun.
Thank
we
you
can probably
so much.
Talk forever and ever.
We will. Next time, come and visit us, and then we'll like look at our inputs. You know, that needs one more Jack. It needs one more. We need a Lynx here.
I got 6 here.
We need her to
we're missing
close our circle.
We're missing
it.
We are.
Well, it was incredible meeting you. Please let's throw out all the socials before we go. We are at keepingitcasualpodcast.com on Instagram.
Keeping It Casual Podcast. Yes. So come find us.
Facebook, Twitter. I'm MJ Radio Diva anywhere.
I'm at Bree Mixed anywhere.
Great.
You are?
We're on Instagram. We're at Muses Podcast.
Yes.
Musespod.com and Chanty and Lynx.
Okay.
At Twitter.
When you guys dropped your, how do you spell Chanty?
Chanty.
Yeah.
And Lynx.
Lynx.
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah. And our episodes come out every second Thursday, but with our Patreon that's going to be launching. If you want more, then you're going to get a bonus episode in between those weeks.
Love it. Love it all. We have new episodes every Wednesday, too.
Patreon's already sold out for them.
We look forward. Thank you for collaborating with us on this episode. We're so excited to share your show with our listeners and meet yours.
Same.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Las Vegas.
Bye.
Girl, that was fun.
Another fun conversation with you.
Yes. If you have any feedback, email us feedback@keepingitcasualpodcast.com.
My Twitter is Breemixed, BreeMixed.
And I'm at MJ Radio Diva, any social platform.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Keeping It Casual Podcast. You get to see live videos, silly little photos of us.
All the dumb photos that we talk about. Anything photo-wise we talk about in the episode, it'll be there.
We look forward to hearing from you.
We'll be back with more gossip about nothing and
everything. Bye.